Okay, hello, beginning screen printing. This is the video tutorial that goes along with the CMYK color separations in Photoshop PDF document that's uploaded to Canvas. You can see on my left I've got that documented open in Adobe Acrobat. And to my right I've got Adobe Photoshop 2021 version open. I'm using Adobe Photoshop 2021 release version 22.3.4. That's something that you should remember because if you're using an older Photoshop, I can't necessarily guarantee that this step-by-step guide will be accurate. So try to use the most up-to-date version of Photoshop as you can. If you don't have access to Photoshop, of course, you can use it at the Spark in the Willis library. So let's go ahead and get started. Step one, open Adobe Photoshop software on your personal computer or from a computer at the Spark. I've done that. Got it to my right. Step two, go to File, Open, and select the image file you want to convert into CMYK layers. This file may be found on the internet, photographed with a phone, or scanned via a scanner. So let me do that. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I am, going to go to where my image is, and here it is. So this John Wayne photo I pulled directly from the internet. All right, nice. So now I can see it. Maybe I'm gonna zoom out so it's more in screen here, but I've got everything ready to go. So now I can go to step three. In the Photoshop menu bar, go to Image, Image Size. The dialog box will appear with the options to set the resolution and size of your chosen image. Make sure that resolution is set to 300 dpi. Set your image size to correlate with the size of the image you'll be printing. For example, if the project dictates 11 by 14 image size, set the size accordingly. So actually our paper size for this project is 11 by 15. The image size is variable. I actually want this image size to be, I think, 8.5 by 11. So let's do that. I'm going to go to Image, and I am going to go to Image Size. And we get a dialog box. Right now it's set at 11 by, or 12 by 16. I'm going to do 8.5 and a little over 11. That's fine. My resolution on here is 96, but I want that to be 300. So I've made all those changes. It actually does scale this up a little bit. So I go from 5 megabytes of information to 24. So I'm going to hit OK. And that made my image bigger. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to move to step 4. Adobe Photoshop will automatically set the color preference for a digital image file to RGB, which is red, green, and blue. That's the additive color spectrum. We want the subtractive. So for printing purposes, we need the color setting to display as CMYK, or cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So to do this, go to Image, Mode, CMYK Color, and a dialog will appear saying the following bit of information. Once you see that, click OK. So that's what I'm going to do. Image, Mode, CMYK Color. There's my dialog box saying all of that junk. I'm going to hit OK. And there we are. So we're effectively in CMYK. If I go to Image and check my mode, I can see that CMYK is checked, not RGB. So that's perfect. Step 5. Now, I want to scroll my cursor, towards the bottom right of the layer panel menu and select the Channels tab right here. Once selected, click on the upper right panel menu, which is this right here, and select the Split Channel option, which is right here, Split Channels. This will immediately add 4 separate file tabs designated File Name Cyan, File Name Magenta, File Name Yellow, and File Name Black. And it is done so. So I'm compressed here, but if I hit this little arrow, it's going to show me that. So I've got John Wayne, my file name, John Wayne CMYK web photo, cyan, magenta, yellow, and a black version. And I'm going to navigate to cyan for now. So now, step 6. Now that your color layers are separated, they can be bitmapped according to your screen mesh specifications. So remember what we talked about, calculating the LPI, or lines per inch. During the bitmap process, each specific layer must be set at a specified angle to prevent an accidental moire effect, which is figure 1.4. So this is an example of a moire effect, a visual distortion. The moire effect is produced when dot patterns that are superimposed are identical to each other. Separating color layers by distinct angles will reduce visual distortion. So that's why we've got these different angles, and those angles are right below here. So cyan is angle 75, magenta 15, yellow 105, black is 45. So let's do those separations. So in the cyan tab, which I've got selected, I'm going to go to Image, Mode, and Bitmap from the Photoshop menu bar. I'm going to get a dialog box that's going to appear that's going to say set my output and my method. So let me do that. I'm going to go to Image, Mode, and Bitmap. And now I've got a bitmap dialog box here. My resolutions, I've already got this saved, so my output is already saved to 300. That's perfect. And my method is halftone screen. Now you've got other options here: diffusion, dither, pattern, dither, 50% threshold. Don't pay any attention to that. We don't want any of those. We just want halftone screen. So once that's selected, I'm going to hit OK. And then I get a second dialog box that appears. And it's the halftone screen dialog box. Now this is where things get more specific. So my second dialog box has appeared, and it's asked me for a couple things: the frequency, angle, and shape of the halftone screen. Set the frequency, which is right here, at or below the maximum LBI possible for your screen mesh. So I suggested in class that 25 or lower is going to be what you want to try. I think anything above 25 after I did a few tests it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to print. That's not to say that you can't try it. You can if you would like, but guaranteed results at 25 and below. I can't really guarantee that you'll have a good time if you go higher than 25. So I'm actually going to set my frequency to 15 lines per inch, which is set here. So 15, that's going to give me like a kind of a mid-coarse range dot pattern, which is fine. And my angle, I'm going to set it at the cyan angle. For cyan, if I'm looking at my reference sheet, is set to 75. So I'm going to set that. Shape, I'm going to pick round because that's kind of the traditional dot pattern, kind of halftone shape. But you can experiment with this. Don't feel like you just have to do round. If you want to do any of these other fun versions, diamond, ellipse, line, square, cross, you do whatever you want. So once I do that, I'm going to hit OK, and instantly that converts my image, the cyan layer, into a bitmapped pattern, which is really cool to see. So that looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rest of them. So I'm going to follow the same procedure: image, mode, bitmap. Again, the bitmap bar is fine. It's always going to be the same. Frequency is the same. Angle is going to change. So now I'm in magenta, and I'm going to set that angle based off of my sheet to 15. Hit OK. Go to the next one. Now I'm going to go to yellow. I'm going to do the same thing. Image mode, bitmap. OK on this screen. Now the angle instead of 15 is going to be 105. Hit OK. All right. And I've got one more, the black layer. Image mode, whoops. Image mode bitmap. Okay, and I'm going to set this to 45. All right, all of them are done. So now we're at number 8, and we'll go back to cyan too in the meantime. So step 8, once you've converted all the color layers into bitmap layers, remember to change those layers to grayscale so they may be saved as a JPEG or PDF file. To do this, go to Image, Mode, Grayscale. A dialog box will appear with a size ratio of 1. Click OK. All right, so this is an important step because after I bitmap these layers, I can only save them as bitmap layers. I can't save them as a JPEG or a PDF file. I can't edit them. So to get around this, I'm just going to go to Image, Mode, and I'll go from bitmap to grayscale. That dialog box will appear asking me for a size ratio of 1. And yes, I do want that. I want a 1-to-1 ratio. If I change this number, if I go bigger or smaller, that's going to change the ratio and essentially make all the calculations I did for my dot pattern kind of pointless. So ratio of 1, hit OK, and that turns it into an editable JPEG image document. So I'm going to do that with all of them. Okay, image mode, grayscale, okay. Image mode, grayscale, okay, on that size ratio. And my last one on black, image mode, grayscale, okay. All right, there it is. Now number 9 here, congratulations. You can now save each color layer as a separate file. The following file name format is suggested, so whatever your image name is and the corresponding color. So image name cyan, magenta, etc. However, before you do that, if you want to use the crosshair registration technique, see the crosshair registration step-by-step guide subheading before saving. So I want to do the crosshair registration technique. So let's go to that. All right, so here we are. We're in crosshair registration. Now this is important because it helps with registration accuracy. So we can see in figure 1.5, a well-registered CMYK print will have no variations. One that is not as registered will have these subtle offsets. You see this all the time in package printing. You'll see offset printing like this. So it's not impossible to get a perfect registration like this. It is extremely difficult. I'm not necessarily going to discount points for something like this. I mean, honestly, this much offset is fine. That's within the realm of tolerance for these images. Anything more than that, and you'll kind of start to get messy. But anyways, here we go. So crosshair registration step by step. Step 1, before saving the bitmap CMYK color separations in Photoshop, download the crosshair registration mark.jpg from Canvas. Save it on your desktop so that it is readily available. So I'm going to go to my Canvas. I've got it pulled up. So here we are in project 3. And the mark is under crosshair registration marks, plural, for some reason. I kind of misnamed that, but if you click on it, it will give you a downloadable JPEG image. So download this to your desktop, save it. I've already done that, obviously, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it. So that's in 2. Well, I've got it ready anyway. So I've opened it. I've already opened mine. I've got it saved, and I've got it in a place where I can use it. Let's go to step 2. So step 2, I'm going to select the layer in the layer panel menu at the bottom right of the screen. So that's right here. So I'm going to be in cyan, and I'm going to select this. I'm going to double click the title layer. Sometimes it'll be gray. In this case, it's background. And I'm going to double click that until a new layer dialog box appears. And I'm going to change the name to correspond with that layer. So in this case, cyan. By doing that, it does 2 things at once. One, it changes the name of this to cyan, labels it, and it unlocks the layer. So I want to do that across all of these. Okay, so magenta. Do it for yellow, double click. Yellow, great, and now I'm going to do black. Here we go. All right, that's all done. So next, once I've figured out step number 2, I'm going to go to 3, copy paste all the separate color files into one Photoshop file layer. This can be done by using key commands on Mac. The key command is Command C for copy and Command V for paste. If you're using a PC, I believe it is Control C for copy and Control V for paste. So what I'm going to do is go to my cyan. And it's important to have it selected. I can't have this off. I have to have my eyeball on and the layer selected. And I'm going to key command C to copy it. And then I'm going to go all the way to my black layer here and Command V to paste. And what do you know? you can see that now right in here. So I've got my cyan layer is in with my black layer. So that's great. Now I'm going to do that for all of them. So now I'm going to do it with magenta, Command C, go to the black layer, Command V. Magenta's in there. I'm going to organize these as I go. All right, and one more. Yellow, Command C, and in the black layer, Command V. And there we go. Now they're all together. Fantastic. So if I deselect these, I can see that they're all in the same layer. They're all in the same file. That's what I want. All right, so now that I'm done with step 3, I'm going to go to step 4. Once all color layers are in the same file, just like this, go to Image, Canvas Size, and add 1 to 2 inches of height to your image area. This will provide extra space for the registration marks. Excuse me, got a little too quick there. Before hitting the OK button, hover your cursor over the anchor settings and click the bottom middle arrow icon. This will ensure that the additional 1 to 2 inches of space is now added to the top of your image area. Now click OK. So I want to make a little addendum to this because I think it's necessary to talk about something that is in the canvas, which is this PowerPoint. So I didn't make this PowerPoint before I created this, this booklet. Kind of wish that I would have, because it talks about something kind of important right in here. So this step is crucial when we're planning our image. So in the example I gave, I said add 1 to 2 inches because essentially you want to provide space for the pinhole registration, which is in this layout, this top part. So I've got about 1 inch on my paper guide here designated for pinhole registration. But then I've got also this inch of open space before my crop mark where my cross hair registration is going to exist. So that's where that 1 to 2 inches of space comes in. However, the way that I laid out my image specific to my project is, my paper size below the crop mark is 11 by 15, and I'm not doing a full bleed. So if I was doing a full bleed, meaning my image was covering the entirety of my paper surface, I could follow, those instructions to the letter and just put my crosshair registration marks right above my image, and it would be fine. But I can't necessarily do that here because I do have space below and above where my image area is. I've got to take that into account. So in my image, I've got about 1.5 inches of space above and 2.5 below. So I'm going to think about that as I'm manipulating this area. So I'm still going to change my canvas size. So I'm going to go in Photoshop, go to Image, Canvas Size. But now I'm going to change a little bit. I'm going to add about 2.5 inches of height to the bottom. So I'm selecting this top part to add stuff to the bottom here. So 2.5. Oh, wait. Actually, hold on. Excuse me. So I need to add 2 to that. 13. We'll do about 13. This one's not. You know what? Let me do this to make it easier. Let me crop it, because I've got that kind of weirdness in the bottom. So let me go to, what am I doing? Cropping. Let me crop just to make it a solid 11. Let me zoom in here too. So make this crop a little bit better. We're almost there. 11. Great. All right, that's better. So now I'm going to go to canvas size and I'm going to adjust it accordingly. So I'm going to add 2.5 inches to the bottom area of space. So 11, 12, 13.5 would be my new measurement here. And I'm going to toggle this top part of the arrow, the middle top section of this grid, and hit OK. That's going to give me 2.5 inches on the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is add an additional few inches up top So if I go back, let me look back at that thing again here. So this is what I'm doing. So this is my image area. I just added 2.5 inches of space. That's right here. Now I'm going to add this space. So I've got about 1.5 inches of my border, but I've also got an additional inch here where my registration marks are going to go, my crosshair registration marks. So altogether, in total, that is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to add another 2.5 inches to the top. It's actually equal to the bottom. So let's do that. All right, so same thing again. I'm going to go to Image, Canvas Size, 2.5 inches, so 13, 14, 15, it's going to be 16, right? And instead of putting it at the bottom, I'm going to add it to the top. So I'm actually going to, it seems a little non-intuitive here, but I'm going to hit this bottom middle section, and that's going to add more to the top. Just like that. So now I've got the spacing that I need to line up on my page. And this is really important that you get this right, so make sure that you plan this in advance. But now what I'm going to do also to make sure that I get my crosshair marks in the right place, I'm going to pull down this little measuring line and find about 1 inch. That's a little bit off, but it's close enough. So that's about 1 inch from the top, and that's where related to this space relates to that layout. So right here, this is the space that I just made. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm ready. I'm ready to go from step 4 to step 5. There should now be a blank space in the spaces that need a blank space. Next, I'm going to drag and drop the crosshair registration mark JPEG into Photoshop, the one that I downloaded before. So I'm actually going to pull this to the side. I'm going to open up the version that I need, which is here. And here's my crosshair registration marks. I'm just going to drag and drop it. Drag and drop. And I'm actually going to move this layer to the top so I can see it. Oh, and I'm in crop. Hold on a second. Doing something weird because I was in crop. Let me go back. Let me undo that. And let's try that again. Here we go. Open up this. And again, I'm just grabbing that crosshair registration. Throw that in. There we go. That's better. So before I was still on the crop function. So it did not like that. But that's all right. So we're going to get that out of the way. Put this over here. And now we've got this in here. And I can resize it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to size it to my specifications. So I've already got a little area up here where it needs to exist, and I'm going to just bring it up until it fits. Okay, and I'll hit enter. Now I've got the crosshair registration mark in my layer setting. I'm going to go ahead and left click and duplicate that, make a copy. And it went somewhere, probably right in there actually. And now that I've got this copy, I'm going to drag it to the opposite corner, parallel. You see I've got those nice little quick purple guides that show me exactly where I need to go. And I'm going to drop it, and that looks pretty good. And this goes into step 6 here. Kind of jumping the gun, but step 6. So once I've got these in place, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and rasterize them. So I just left-clicked. So again, I left-clicked on this layer, and I need to rasterize it. So that's not a smart layer anymore. Okay. And now I'm going to just merge these together. The same motion. Left-clicking, merge down. So now when I toggle, they're both the same. So I've got one set of registration, crosshair registration marks, and now I want 4 in total. So I need to make 3 more. So I'm going to left-click this again. And I'm just going to duplicate that layer. Okay, that's 1. Duplicate layer. That's 2. Duplicate layer. That's 3 for 4 total. Now that I've got 4 of those, I'm just going to drag these down until I put them in their respected places. So let me do that. Move this up so I can see it. There we go. So I'm going to have one above the black layer. I'm going to have one above the yellow layer. I'm going to have one above the magenta and then one above the cyan. And the next thing I can do is just merge all these together. So merge down, toggle that off. Merge down, toggle that off. And again, I'm just left clicking on this, or on your Mac, control left click, and that'll open it up. So again, merge down. Oh, wait. Oh, you know, this person was in here. This little guy. All right, I'm gonna delete this. I don't need it. Yeah, delete it. All right, merge this down. And merge this one down. Okay, so now if I did that correctly, I should be able to go through and each one has their own tick marks, their own registration guides. That's exactly what I want. So that's perfect. They're registered. Now I go to step 7. So once I've got this done, they're good to go. They're the size that I need them to be. They correlate with my test paper guide that I was showing you before. It's everything that I need. It's ready to go. So finally, I can save these now as separate layers. So if I was going to do that, I would basically deselect all the other layers I'm not going to save, my black, yellow, magenta, and now I'm going to save cyan. And I would do File, save a copy, and I would save it where it needs to go. I usually, when I go to this, I'm going to select JPEG. I could also do PDF. It's going to ask if I want to embed color profiles. I can switch all that off, and then I can name it. I could just name this JW for John Wayne _ cyan. Just like that. And I would hit save and save it in my designated file area. But I don't need to do that because I've already done it, so I'll hit cancel. So that's it. That's everything that you need to know. I want to show you one little extra fun thing. Once you've got this all finished, what I would also suggest is, once you save all of the files as separate JPEGs or PDFs, your cyan, your magenta, your yellow, your black, go ahead and save this PSD file because you can edit it and you can do something really fun if you want to mess with color. So right now I'm in grayscale, and I want to make sure, of course, that I'm in grayscale when I go to save these. I don't want these to be color. They need to be grayscale because that's black and white imagery. If they're not in grayscale and I accidentally save them in color, when I go to print them, they might print in black and white and be a little translucent, or they could even print in color, and that's not going to make a very good positive. But after I've got those saved and I know they're saved, what I can do is actually go to Image, Mode, and change from grayscale to CMYK color. It's going to ask if I want to merge. In this case, I don't. Hit OK. And now I can change the color of these things. So I'm in cyan. I'm going to get a little closer so I can see it. I'm going to use a key command to find hue and saturation, Command U. If I didn't want to do that, I could just go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, but you can see my key command is Command U. So I'm hitting Command U with that selected. And I'm going to get this dialog box. And what I can do is hit Colorize, adjust the saturation all the way up, and adjust the value of the color until I start to see it. And now since this is cyan, I'm going to make it cyan, or close to it. Hit OK. So now it's in color. Again, don't save it like this. Don't save it in color because it won't print very well, but I'll I'll hit multiply as well. And then I'll do the next one in the same way. Command U, colorize, set that saturation high, make it lighter so I can start to see the color, and I'll do more of a magenta, like a nice pinkish. Then I'll set this layer up here from normal to multiply. I'm doing the multiply layer so that it's transparent. Same thing with the yellow, Command U, colorize, put that saturation up, make it lighter, and now I'm going to do more of a process yellow. And finally, for black, I don't really need to change the color, but I do need to make it put on to multiply. Now, once I toggle these, I should get the subsequent color mixtures happening digitally, which is really cool to see. Oh, actually I missed yellow here, so I'm going to do multiply on that. Now we've got all of them. So look at that. So this is cool. This kind of gives you an idea of maybe what it's going to look like before you print it, which is fun to see. It's also something you can experiment with, so you don't necessarily have to do process colors for this project. You can experiment with different color types. You're more than welcome to try that out in Photoshop before you commit to your actual prints. Anyways, that's everything that you need to know. Hopefully this video, in correlation with the other resources that you have for this project uploaded to Canvas, will help you figure out this process. If you need additional help or information, feel free to email me or talk to me in class. All right, good luck.